All you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
Well, how are we doing out there, everybody in radio land and the internet and all that fun stuff? This is Joe Akos here on the Conservative Syndicate. The Conservative Syndicate, that nationally syndicated radio show that opposes the leftist, easy for me to say, progressive agenda. The Conservative Syndicate, the show that tears down that imaginary wall, tear down that wall of separation between church and state. We at the Conservative Syndicate, we seek to tear down that wall through education, information, and engagement, because it is time to reclaim our standards as one nation under God. I am Joe Akos once again, and first thing right out of the gate, folks, let's say a little prayer for our founder, John Matthews. He has a family emergency, so we got prayers out for John right now. So, John, we're thinking about you. Always will. And so hopefully we'll hear more about what you have to tell us tomorrow on tomorrow's show, a Wednesday show. And again, as usual, this show has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This show is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease except that disease that might be called liberalism. So if you're a liberal, come on by. We'll see if we can't help you out, but you're going to probably have to take more than one show. We might have to shove a few shows down, to get you all cured up. We got a couple guests lined up for us tonight. We have Mr. Michael Smith, who contributes from time to time to not only himself, but to Dryer Report, and Don Dix. Don is our resident expert on a lot of things, so we're going to have him on in the second hour. So we wanted to make sure we have that. Now, yesterday's show, we talked a little bit about the Obamacare death spiral, and we gave you all kind of facts and figures and stuff. But let's understand one thing. This is going to happen. This death spiral is going to happen. And the reason why it's going to happen because, well, as we said yesterday, it's designed to happen. The death spiral is built into Obamacare. But as I was at the medical facility today, I ran into one of the workers there, and we got to talking a little bit, and she explained to me, made a little light bulb go off in my head. As you can see right now, there's a light bulb going off in my head. So the light bulb was going off, and talking about our military health care system. Now it's TRICARE. It used to be Champus and all that fun stuff, but that's beside the point. But she had been doing this kind of business, what she does, for a long time, and she recalls. And this is where I'm getting to the point here. She recalls when she first started out, she told me that there were like 14 different subcontractors, per se, that were providing health care for our military members in where she was at, where she particularly works at. And now it's down to 2. And it's exactly what we were trying to explain last night. You're running out of insurers that are doing this because doing the Obamacare exchange, because they're not making any money on it. And pretty soon what we're going to find out is we're going to have our nice progressive friends out there, the Democrats, And some of these Republicans, they're going to go, well, we just tried. We really tried. Now nothing's working. We don't have anything happening here, and we're just going to have to shut the darn thing down and go to a single-payer system because nothing's going to work because of these evil companies, and we just got to go to a single-payer system. That's the only way we're ever going to ensure everybody that doesn't have health care. So I just thought that was kind of a neat thing going on that she just rang my bell there a little bit. I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so, I wanted to talk to, bring that one out a little bit. Oh, the other thing I want to bring out was kind of funny. And, if you've listened to the show before, you know exactly how much I really love and admire John Boehner, the former Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. And just wonderful to see that John, there's control freaks and then there's John Boehner. And John Boehner just can't seem to let it go. John Boehner is out there trying to handpick the guy to take over his seat in the Ohio's 8th Congressional District. He's trying to get a county auditor named Roger Reynolds elected to that seat. And it's just funny how that works out, that he has to go ahead and he just has to pick his guy. Meanwhile, the guy that almost beat him and would have if it wasn't for the fact that Boehner was able to throw a whole bunch of money at his campaign, J.D. Winteregg is still out there running, and J.D. is a conservative and would be an excellent representative for those folks out there in the 8th Congressional District of Ohio. So don't be fooled, you people in Ohio. Of course, I say that tongue-in-cheek because apparently you can be fooled, and you were fooled for quite a few years, 20-some years, actually. So that being said, what are we going to do? Johnny's Johnny. Johnny's probably, it's getting colder up north, so I don't think Johnny's up there right now. He has to take that golf cart and golf clubs that he got as gifts, and he has to use them somewhere, and it won't be Ohio, not anytime soon, unless he really likes to bundle up. But then again, if you have a few rounds of whatever adult beverages, so to say, and then Johnny's all over that. So just thought you might want to hear about that. And then we have another asshat, the mayor of Dallas, who went out the other day and said he's more afraid of armed white men than he is of terrorists. Well, gee. And he lives in a predominantly white city, predominantly white neighborhood, but yet he's afraid of white guys over the terrorists. So he'd welcome the terrorists into Dallas. Hey, way to be there, Mr. Mayor of Dallas. You're just a lovely guy. Unbelievable. So, again, folks, we got Michael Smith coming up here right after. We're going to go to a break here shortly. Michael Smith coming up and Don Dix. And, again, we're just kind of praying for our fearless leader, Mr. Matthews, as he's out there taking care of his family, which is what he needs to do. We can handle the show. We've been here before. We can do this. We can take care of it, whatever it is we need to take care of, because John needs to take care of what John needs to take care of. And so it's what we have to do. Oh, I need to shut this thing down because this is insanity going on here. Anyway, and by the way, just one more thing. Our friends up in Canada, they are not quite so afraid of the refugees coming to their country. They're going to take about 10,000 before the end of the year and another 15 before the end of February. But they're going to do it a little different way. If you're married, man and a woman kind of deal, you can come on in there. Of course, the children, but no single Syrian refugees are going to be allowed in. Single male refugee. Really, they should not say single male. It should be, if you're single, you shouldn't be allowed in, because, we did have that one up there in Paris. She kind of went boom all over herself. So you don't need that coming into your country either. But who's to say that that's not smarter in a way? We're just going to do it. But I don't know. Maybe sometimes we focus on the wrong border. Maybe we need to focus on our border up to the north. I don't know. I'm just saying that. It's a possibility. Don't get mad at me. Our friends up north. I know you're out there curling and playing some hockey. But you might want to watch your new PM. He could be leading you down the wrong path there. Okay, we're coming up on a break here, so we're going to take a couple commercials here, and we'll be right back after the break. Here on the Conservative Syndicate, we'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Hey, welcome back, folks. This is the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your temporary host tonight, Joe Hakos, while John Matthews is off doing what he needs to do right now. And what I'd like to do next is we're going to bring up our first guest tonight, and that would be Mr. Michael Smith. But Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith has he's been I've been acquainted with Mr. Smith for a few years now, and he's been quite at times he's quite insightful, and I've always enjoyed some of his stuff. He at times lets me take some of his items and put them up on Dryer Report, and I quite enjoy them at most of the time. Actually, all the time, I really do. So don't get too big ahead there, Mr. Smith. I know you're listening right now. So hey, let me just give you a couple, so you get the idea about Mike. Let me give you some of Mike's most recent work here. And this is just a few days ago. Mike wrote, in the battle between 7th century and 21st century armies, the 7th century army would be decimated. In a battle between 7th century society and 21st century society, Mike's not so sure. 7th century culture was, to quote Hobbes, no arts, no letters, no society, and which is worst of all, continual fear and the danger of violent death. And the life of man, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. It was kill or be killed society where life could well depend on your physical combat. People were hard. 21st century society is soft, weak, effort, and afraid. We have plenty of arts and letters. As a rule, we have no institutional fear, no danger of violent death, and we live long lives of relative ease. America, and this is the part I like the best, so I love Mike. America is still made up of a lot of people who can turn hard when required, but our current leadership counts none of those men among it. And absolutely. So, Mr. Smith, without further ado, welcome to the Conservative Syndicate, sir.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, brother. Hey, can you give some folks a little heads up about Mike Smith, what you're up to, what you've been doing, what's happening?
I'm basically an amateur pundit that has been pontificating for probably, almost 10 years now on various and sundry things. Student of philosophy. Came to conservatism by way of just basically pure logic. In the same camp with you as far as progressivism goes. I'm not a big fan of progressivism, actually not a fan at all. Written a couple of books, got a couple more on the way, and actually that's kind of my side job. I run a small subsea oil and gas company, have offices in Houston and Vancouver, so I get to experience some of the Justin Trudeau experience when I'm up in Canada. So, again, proud to publish a few things and have you put them up on the Dryer Report, and glad you enjoy them. I'm glad you corrected it so you enjoy all of it, not just part of it.
The bad parts too, yeah.
The bad parts too. Sometimes the intellect just isn't there. I mean, I'm a victim of the Mississippi public school system, so you kind of get what you pay for, and since most of what I put out is free, that's about what it's worth.
No. I think we can find some value in any of it, even the stuff from Mississippi. That's okay. Yeah. I know you've been. Following the football and everything, so we won't go into that.
Yeah, let's don't go there.
I didn't think we'd want to do that. Our friends on the other side. I don't even want to call them friends. Our enemies on the other side, because really, they only want one thing, and that's power. They don't really care. They'll call you a friend and then knife you. So. That's okay. You just got to understand that's what they're going to do. But I don't know if you saw this the other day, and it kind of took me a little bit. I'm sure you saw the protests going on in Missouri, and in Yale, and that kind of thing. And I saw this the other day, and I was kind of a little taken aback by it, because I'm like, why do we send why do these people go to school if they're not going to be challenged a little bit? And then I saw this article in the Conservative Tribune, and this was the other day, and it was, there's let me just read the first part of this. If a group of Black, Latino, Asian students all had their own race-exclusive clubs at a prominent American university, it would only stand to reason that white students should be able to form a union of their own, right? Well, not only to be fair, but also under the often overlooked First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Okay, wow. You don't bring in the Constitution, I know, but unfortunately, administrators at the University of Illinois, the Urbana-Champaign campus, apparently aren't fans of the Constitution, because the moment the white students set up a Facebook page for their new white union in response to Black Lives Matter group disrupting their lives on campus, the staffers got on the phone to Facebook and said, "Shut that thing down." I don't know if you saw that or not.
It's the absurdity of our contemporary times. I mean, it is really remarkable when you look and you actually think that over the span of roughly 50 years, we've gone from college students fighting for freedom of speech and freedom of expression to college students who work to suppress freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And you've actually gone from a culture that celebrated desegregation and equal rights for all to a culture where it's almost like everybody wants to self-segregate again, and it's a completely absurd situation that we're in from a modern perspective, and it's just there's no rationality to it at all. I mean, the speech is simply verbalized thought, and I think I wrote this the other day that if you suppress speech, you're suppressing thought. And when you start dealing in the realm of transforming from the physical to the metaphysical, then you've really got problems, because you're really trying to suppress the individual thought of, and when you get down to that point, you're really suppressing freedom. And it's sad. It really is sad to see these. As Rush Limbaugh would say, these young skulls full of mush that are actually out there protesting and don't even understand that the things that they're protesting and they're trying to eliminate are the very things, are the very precepts that give them the right to even protest about anything. So it's disturbing. And the fact that, it's almost, life is a lot like physics. I mean, if you look at it from that standpoint, every action does have an equal and opposite reaction. So I'm really not surprised to see the pushback come from movements like Black Lives Matter and some of these other movements that are basically racist movements that are pushing back against the white majority. And that's not a racist statement. That's just pure fact. I mean, you do raise a good point about the Constitution that equality and the freedoms that are guaranteed by the Constitution are colorblind. They're guaranteed to everyone. And it all goes back to this postmodern concept that you can't be racist if you're in the majority. If you have power, you can't be racist, and that's just simply not true.
It is just, I can't understand. They want safe spaces, and because these words are going to hurt them. What words are going to hurt them? I remember sticks and stones. That keeps ringing into my ears here, and I just wonder, come on, Cupcake, what are you going to do when your boss tells you to do something? Because everybody has a boss. Everybody has a boss.
Yeah, I even told someone in a conversation the other day that perhaps if your idea or your belief system can't survive outside a safe space, maybe it's not such a good idea or a belief system after all.
It's ridiculous. I mean, like I'm saying, everybody, even if you're self-employed, you have a boss. That is the people that you are trying to sell your goods and services to.
Well, listen, even a CEO has a boss. Yes. I mean, people think that CEOs don't have bosses, but CEOs have the stockholders they have to answer to. So everybody has a boss.
Which is the main reason why I don't ever want us to get to a single-payer healthcare system, because nobody will have a boss. There will be no CEO to make sure we make money off of that. And I'm sure you heard. We were on last night. We were talking about it with the death spiral.
Yeah.
And then they're going to try to float in this upcoming reconciliation process for the budget to take taxpayer dollars to bail out these insurance companies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I listened to the show last night as well, and you guys were, you were spot on. I mean, this whole program was never designed to be successful. I mean, you can't have insurance where you have so many things that are directly paid for. I mean, this was really nothing other than sort of a cobbled together wealth transfer system to try to, to basically cover those who didn't have insurance by those who did have insurance and pay through taxpayer subsidies and so forth. And you're exactly right. I mean, this was always intended to crash. I mean, it may be happening a little sooner than they anticipated, but it is, the math eventually catches up to you. 2 + 2 will eventually equal 4, and it was unsustainable the day it was passed in 2010, and it has remained unsustainable all the way through. And it is targeting. We are headed toward the push for single payer.
Yes. Exactly. They're going to come around and they're going to say, well, we have no other choice. We tried. And the only solution will be we have to go let the government control it single payer, which is, and we know that is not the only solution. Because I don't know, what were we doing in, let's say, 2004 if we want to go back, just 11 years ago.
Our leadership learns nothing from history. I mean, if you really take a look at the socialist and the communist regimes over the past 50 years or so, what you always see is that these guys always get themselves into economic difficulties, and invariably they always turn to a capitalist system in order to be able to overcome it. You look at Cuba, the things they're even doing right now. I mean, they are looking to capitalist America to provide money for them to fund their, I like to say that socialists wanted just enough of your capitalism to pay for their adventures in socialism. Yeah. I mean, if you look at China, China's the same way. I mean, look at China, how China expanded over the years once it came out of the Maoist regimes and actually opened itself up to the world. I mean, what economic system drove the growth in China? It's capitalism. And I used to do a lot of business in China, spent a lot of time over there, and one thing I learned very quickly is there's no one that understands capitalism better than a member of the Communist Party.
Because they want the money.
They want the money. They want the money. That's absolutely true. And there's no fairer system in the world than capitalism. So, but yeah, I mean, to kind of get us back toward the whole safe space thing that we were talking about. I mean, one of the things that used to be the benefit of college is you sent your kid off as an independent. I mean, it's most of the time it was the first time any of the children would achieve the age of 18. They wanted to go off. They wanted to explore their independence, and they were away from mom and dad, and they were experiencing life on their own, and they had to deal with their own bills and their own issues, and there wasn't mommy to run to every time something happened to them. And it was there to basically turn kids into an adult, that they were hardened through their independence and their knowledge in preparation for what was going to happen next. Because what happens next is you're thrown out into the real world where you have to deal with bosses, you have to deal with coworkers, you have to deal with situations that you have to make decisions on. And a lot of people have called it the special snowflake system or special snowflake syndrome, where everybody thinks they're special, but it's almost like these kids. Basically, a lot of these the protest movements, they almost seem to feed on unhappiness. I mean, I actually wrote a piece a couple of weeks ago called "Consumers of Unhappiness," and it's really, when you look at it in the terms of the kids that are protesting right now, I mean, they're perpetually aggrieved and offended. They revel in the pain of that. They claim to want to end problems, but if you look at how they want to end problems, it's actually by inflicting pain on other people. Yeah. And they demand strict compliance to the rules of their rules of engagement of basically their progressive religion. And I mean, it's a functional impossibility because progressivism is basically, it's based on postmodernism, which there's no rationale or reason to. And that's one of the reasons these guys stay so frustrated, because there's not an answer to the problems. Well, you'll never be
happy. They're never going to be happy.
They're never going to be happy.
Absolutely. They're never going to be happy with whatever it is they're coming up with. And so, and that way, they're always find some grievance. Somebody's going to offend them. Somebody's going to wear a certain costume or going to wear a certain T-shirt that offends them. And it's like, really? Don't you remember? As long as they're not hurting you, really, are they really hurting you, or are you just offended? There's a difference. There is a difference.
That's really, when you really come down to it, that's really the death of free speech. I mean, when I have to I can only be responsible for my ideas in the context that I speak or write in. I can't be responsible for how somebody understands it or how somebody conceptualizes it, or if they're offended by it, or they're not offended by it, because once you make the speaker responsible for how the person that hears it, you make the speaker responsible for that person's understanding, then you've lost all opportunity for free speech. Yeah. It's over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to continue this right after we come back from this short break. This is Joe Hakos with Michael Smith here on the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back, folks.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
right. Welcome back again. This is Joe Hakos on the Conservative Syndicate here with Mr. Michael Smith, and we were discussing our next generation of leaders in our country and how marvelous they are, and how we just can't wait for them to get into the real world and join us in the march towards greatness, or maybe we weren't.
Well, I mean, I think we were to some extent, but I think it's important for us to recognize too that we shouldn't generalize about all the students. There's a segment of them that resist logic, but there's a good many kids out there that are actually doing pretty well because of parents who have exerted parental control and discipline over their homes and have expected achievement out of their kids rather than just everybody gets a trophy kind of thing.
This participation doesn't cut it. Yeah, exactly. And that's the part I wanted to get with you, Mike, about we had our we talk about these protesters and stuff. What really is disappointing to me is not. Yeah, I'm disappointed in the protesters and these kids that want, their safe spaces and they want to have this and their demands are that and this and that. What I'm really disappointed is there's no pushback from the adults that are there to supposedly help guide them. Yeah. They just kind of throw their hands up and say, "Oh, well, okay, I guess I sucked at this, so I'm going to have to leave now because you're just overwhelming me with whatever it is, and I can't stand to hate."
Yeah. I mean, it is. It goes back. I share your disappointment. I really do. I mean, it is. It goes back to something a mentor of mine told me when I was 19 years old, and I had my first job really that included supervision of people that were quite a bit older than me. I was working a summer job way back in college, and the gentleman told me, if you're going to be the boss, be the boss. I mean, you have to be the boss.
Yeah.
And to a large extent, it all gets back to we talk a lot about the academic community being overcome with irrationality and postmodernism and progressivism, and there's a lot of truth to that. And what it really comes down to for me is that even with the adults, there's this belief that somehow facts, even extending to natural law, they're discriminatory, and it's not right for us to say, it's not right for us to judge. But if we as adults and we as people in positions of authority don't model the way forward for the younger people in our society, how will they ever learn? I mean, basically what we're seeing right now is the end product of decades of progressivism on college campuses, because the left is beginning to reap what they've sown. I mean, This is the behavior that they've taught children and college students for 40 years now.
Yeah, just defy the authority at all costs, whether it's for your own benefit or the other person's benefit. You just defy the authority. The hot stove is not hot. I say it's not hot. We're just damn it. We're going to put our hands on it. And it's like there are some things in life that are just absolute truths.
Well, and that's what we've generated a disconnect with, because there is a flood of relativism that flows through a lot of our academic cultures within, and it's been said before, and it's absolutely true. I believe that if you send one of your children to an elite university today, that's actually tantamount to child abuse. I mean, you really should be arrested for abusing your child. Because another point that I made the other day is, look, you might as well go hire the nice old lady down the street to babysit your kids until they're 27 years old, because that's basically what they're getting at a lot of these institutions. They're not getting instruction. They're not being held to account. That's the big problem that I have with it, is that there's no consequences for the action that these kids are taking, because the administrators are just caving into them.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the college ones, but the one that comes to mind right out of my brain now. Granted, the individual, the student resource officer was definitely wrong. He was definitely didn't have to do it. But I don't know if you remember the little girl that was in the high school class, didn't want to give her her phone, was being a smart aleck, whatever, being defiant, whatever, and the student resource officer, ripped her out of the chair, blah blah blah, and And they all come, and the administration and the police department, everything, all come down on the student resource officer. Now, what I had not heard, and I still don't get it, has anything happened to the child as far as her paying any consequence for her behavior?
Yeah, I haven't heard either, but I seriously doubt it. I mean, it's just like I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but Clock Boy, the Muslim student that brought the supposed clock that he made, which was really just a disassembled digital clock crammed into a pencil case.
Yeah.
Now his parents are claiming $15 million claim against the school district. I mean, it's completely absurd.
Yeah, absolutely absurd. And gee, you never saw that one coming. Not at all. I mean, his daddy was a care operative.
Yeah.
So we would never have thought that they were going to do anything.
No.
Outlandish is taking the city and the school district to court over this. They were so defamed.
But it all gets back to actually what your earlier point is. It's a lack of it's really a lack of discipline that's exerted by the people in charge. And when you really look at it, you really have to wonder who's actually in charge, because sometimes the administrators certainly don't seem to be.
Yeah. Yes. Again, like I said, I mean, when you don't hear anything. Now, I understand that if something would have happened to the little angel that was defying the authorities and not giving up her cell phone. My goodness, her cell phone.
Yeah.
I know you can't take that off any teenager, because if you do that, it'd be like ripping out their fingernails. So you can't have it, especially in an environment where you're supposed to be learning something where you might possibly interrupt other people. You know, the fact is that she doesn't. There's nothing there. You don't hear about anything, and then Clockboy turns around and sues Dallas. I think it's Dallas. Someplace.
It's one of the Dallas area schools. Yeah,
somewhere down there. And it's just like, it makes you go, what? And so here we go again. We got to listen, and it's a distraction from other more important things.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not careful, I do believe we could have a flashpoint over in the Middle East, especially after today. I know we didn't lead off with this, with what was going on there in Turkey with the Russian jet and the pilots and the helicopters and all, because that's going to settle down a little bit for me to kind of get into it too much. Although I know you probably have an opinion on it. I know I have an opinion on it. And so I know we kind of, and that's the thing about this show. We'll kind of jump around in this stuff because it's as bad as my website Dryer Report. Just random thoughts tumble around in my brain, and a lot of times it comes. And here it gives me a chance to verbalize that.
No problem. I mean, that's I have adult ADD, so I'm all over the place. Anyway, but strangely enough, I actually just got back from Turkey about 2 weeks ago. I was in Istanbul the first week of November, and had quite a few meetings over there with one of the shipyards over there. And that's an interesting situation. I mean, that whole area really has broken down into really nothing more than tribal warfare. I mean, it's not the old paradigm of state versus state over there now. It's tribe against tribe, and it's just because one tribe is actually fighting the person that you know. For example, we've got there's ISIS-backed groups that are trying to depose Assad in Syria, and I mean the U.S. policy is regime change to get Assad out of there, but I can guarantee you those ISIS guys are no friends of ours.
Yeah, and I heard it said best today is, what is more of a threat to our national security, Assad or ISIS? Well, ISIS has proven to be, in the last few weeks, probably more of a threat to our national security than Assad will be.
Yeah, no doubt.
So why would we want to side with these those guys that are against Assad? It just doesn't make any. We need to probably find a strategy, pick one, and kind of go with it for a little while. This strategy of strategic patience does not seem to be working out very well for us.
Well, Joe, it actually even gets back to the discussion that we were having about the students and how the adults in the room don't seem to be able to control anything.
Leadership,
and that's kind of the same situation we have in the Middle East right now, where we don't have an established policy, haven't had for years, and one of the hallmarks of American foreign policy up until the Obama years has been that we've at least been consistent.
Yes,
we might be consistently wrong, but we are consistent, and our friends know that they can count on us, and our enemies know that they should be leery of us, and that aspect of it has been completely demolished over the last 7 years or so.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be. Again, not it's consistently inconsistent. You would think they hired a bunch of NHL referees to do it then, because that's been their mantra since the inception of the league, I think. So to get another sports metaphor in for us. So, not to go offhanded there, but anyway, hey, we're coming up. We got to take another real short break here. Another short break here on the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back with Joe Hakos and Michael Smith. So, give us one moment, and we'll be right back, folks.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Back here on the Conservative Syndicate. Joe Hakos with Michael Smith, and this is our last segment here. So, Mr. Smith, I do appreciate you coming on with us tonight, giving us some of your insights and everything. And what I'd like to do in the last segment, we do have about 10 minutes or so. I don't know if it'll take 10 minutes, but hey, can you give us a heads up? I know you have a new book coming out, and so I'm going to give you the opportunity here to go ahead and just sing praises about your book and everything, man.
Oh wow, a media plug. That's quite unexpected. Thanks, Joe. I really appreciate it. Now, several years ago, I started a series of novels that basically are along the line. They're espionage and spy type novels, incorporating some of the science. But I've also incorporated a lot of the real settings and scenarios that I've actually experienced over the years. So all the settings and all the locales are real in the books. A lot of the experiences are very similar experiences to what I've had in the past. But I do have a new book coming out on January 1st. It's called What Lies Beneath. It's actually the second in a series of the series of novels that I'm producing. It deals with heavily with China. I have traveled extensively in China and done business over there, and one of the greatest geopolitical foes that I think we will face in the future is actually China, through both economic warfare and possibly even physical warfare. So it's wrapped around.
Certainly been cyber warfare.
It is definitely cyber warfare, and the new book incorporates a little bit of all of that. It should be very interesting. If you like Vince Flynn novels and that type of genre, I think you guys will enjoy this book. The first one's called The American Mandarin. It's still available on Amazon. It's been out there for a while, so it's available if anybody's interested in it. But I've also got a third book coming out that deals a lot with the settings of around my hometown. It's probably going to be back at least targeted about I think, a September release for it, and it's more of a kind of in the murder mystery genre, but it's all based on a lot of my philosophies, a lot of facts, a lot of true events that have happened to my family over the years, and hopefully people will find it interesting. It does have a lot of conservative political principles in it. Again, a lot of the things that I write are from personal experiences, and my political philosophy informs a lot of that. So if you like, hard-nosed assessments of the geopolitical status of the world right now, then you should enjoy these books.
So they're more reality based in some fantasy land.
It's not science fiction. It's not outlandish. I mean, it deals with real technologies. Based in the kind of businesses that I've run over the past 30 years or so, there's a lot of hard science in there. So it is real things that have happened to real people, and some of the scenarios might be imaginary, but they're at least not that far-fetched to imagine.
So you have some plausibility behind them, and it happens in the modern world as opposed to the 1700s or something.
Well, yeah, you would look at those, and sometimes you look at some of the current events. I mean, I look at the first book that I wrote, and you look at some of the current events, and I'm amazed at the things that I wrote that were basically fiction then that have actually come true. So there's works. I mean, it is more of a realistic. It is fiction, but it is more of a realistic fiction.
No, that's always a good way to base stuff, I would think. And so, where can folks get these books, there, Mr. Smith?
They're going to be both. As I said, the first one is out on Amazon. It's been out on Amazon. The second one will be released through them as well. So they'll be available either in hard copy or in electronic format.
Oh, so you got ebooks then?
Ebooks, yep.
Oh man,
yep.
Look at you!
Get them for Kindle or Nook or any of the e-readers.
Oh, that's look at you being all modern and stuff. All tech, all tech savvy.
Like I said, I mean, it's amazing for a person with a Mississippi public school education, but it's I kid. I actually had a very good public school education, so it's.
I would think so. I've read your stuff, and we've conversed quite a bit. So yeah, I don't think I'm talking to no hillbilly hick from down in the swamps down there. I don't think so quite a bit. You've been around the world too many times to not have a little bit of something going on. I mean, it's amazing what can happen to folks as they're out there traveling.
Yeah.
Hey, any other insights you want to give our listeners to before we wrap it down?
Sure. One of my greatest loves, and one of the things that I spend a lot of time on is philosophy, and I read a lot of philosophical tomes. But it is if you really deduce the world to a logical sense, then you can really understand a lot of the events that we see, basically ongoing in our political landscape. It's a lot of absurdity right now. I mean, it's really hard to understand a lot of the actions and a lot of the things that are ongoing right now. But one of the biggest benefits of my education was learning classical literature and learning and reading the classics at the foot of my grandfather, who was probably one of the most least formally educated people you would run across, but he was self-educated in a lot of ways, and taught me a lot about philosophy, taught me a lot about Aristotle, Socrates, a lot of the classic philosophers, and a lot of the truth in our modern times can be found in that. If you read through the Holy Bible, you'll find a lot of logic and a lot of philosophy in there that really ties out to our modern world. And there's a lot of there's a lot of comfort to be found from working through both religion and philosophy. So do it, read it, understand it. It'll help.
Yeah, it'll get you through the day. It will. No, really, seriously, it will get you through the day. A lot of times, I don't understand some. I try to think what is the end game for some of what's going on, and why are they trying to do this? And especially with our current government, the way it is, our government is failing us left and right, and it's amazing that we have had a change at the lower portions of our government. The state and local levels have kind of changed, except for Louisiana this past week.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? But that just proves again that you can't just throw a Republican up there. If you have a true conservative message, it's going to win, because other conservatives in Louisiana won parish elections, etc. So it just amazes me that the message can't get through, and it's been proven. But to have these people fight you every tooth and nail and go, wow, and you kind of go, what? Look, this is. I can look over here and see it's failed. I can show you whole nations that have failed. Yeah. And yet you want to continue to go, well, they just had the wrong people doing it.
Yeah, that's the socialist mantra. It's just never been implemented hard enough or in the right way. But there is no right way to do socialism. It just doesn't work. It never has worked. It's not a fair system. You go back to Friedrich Hayek and the road to serfdom, and in there he introduces the concept of I think that Lenin came up with it. It's whom. I mean, it's who decides for whom, who does things for whom. And that's the ultimate question. I mean, and then when you really deduce it to its least common denominator, it's all about power, and that's what progressives are about. They don't care. They will strive to be a king even in a wasteland.
Yes,
because they're still a king.
Which makes me wonder about the current Republican leadership. It's like, okay, even if we're exactly, we're destroyed, we're nothing, but at least we're in charge of nothing.
Yeah, at least we're the boss.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back in reality land, everybody else is going, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, really? What did you guys come up with again? It simply amazes me sometimes to see what's going on. I just don't get it. I don't think I'll ever get it. But hopefully with folks like you and our show and everything, maybe we can kind of make a dent in this and get people to listen to it. I want, it'd be nicer to really nice to have some younger folks kind of listen to what we're trying to tell you. I'm not trying to tell any young person out of spite. I want to do it because, well, we got to hand this country over to somebody.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's
smart.
I've lived my life according to conservative principles. I'm probably a libertarian leaning conservative. Mm-hmm. But it's worked for me. It has built a good living. It's built a good family, and it works. It works every time it's tried.
Yeah, I think that they had a name for that at one time. I think it was called the American Dream.
Yep, absolutely.
And it does work. It will work if we give it a chance. Yep. Absolutely. Well, Michael, I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you coming out to us. It's been really great. Hopefully we can have you come back if you're not gallivanting somewhere on the globe somewhere, if you could just settle down for a couple of days.
That would be something I would like to do too, though, Joe. Thank you. Hey, I really appreciate you having me on this afternoon, and I'll be back anytime. If I'm like you said, if I'm not on a plane somewhere, I'll be happy to join up.
We'll even do it on a plane, brother. If you're on a plane, we'll even
they have internet on planes.
Yeah, we'll just do it on a plane. Where are you at right now?
I'm somewhere over Kansas.
All right, brother. Thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Joe.
Talk to you later.
See ya.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Conservative Syndicate. This is Joe Hakos. That was Michael Smith. And we are going to have to go ahead and it's coming up to the top of the hour. We have to pay some bills. So as long as we're going to pay some bills, might as well do that. So right now we're coming up at the top of the hour. We're going to do the Edwards Notebook, and then we'll be back after the top of the hour stuff. This is the Conservative Syndicate, and we'll be right back.
The Black Lives Matter Gumps and Missouri protesters are making Stalin and Solonensky proud. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, one of the methods of those seeking to fundamentally change America from the land of the free into the home of the oppressed is through public unrest and outright distortions of truth. The University of Missouri protesters purposely lied about so-called oppression from the white man and white privilege. So they decided to disrupt the campus learning environment and go on and on about racism. They were so effective that both the university president and chancellor resigned after the football players joined the protests, refusing to participate in games unless the president, Tim Wolf, resigned over racial tensions. One of the protesters even claimed that he grew up oppressed until it was discovered he comes from a wealthy family of privilege. Those Alinsky lackeys need to be met with the full resistance of those of us who are not ready or willing to simply allow our republic to be turned into a third world land of losers. We can start by seeing to it that the University of Missouri football players lose their athletic scholarships and go back home where they came from. I'm Ron Edwards.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. Since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish and get the best deal in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call Go Dish to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. Less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
All you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Saying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
And hey, how we doing out there, everybody? Hour number 2. Hour 2 here on the Conservative Syndicate. Again, we're going to go ahead and tear down an imaginary wall between church and state. Just give it a nice stretch because, hey, it's hour 2. We're just rolling right into it. We're going to have Don Dix from Act for America coming up here very shortly. And soon as he touches up with us, we'll have to be there for him, and we'll gather him up. I hope you enjoyed the first hour. I hope you enjoyed the first hour there with Mr. Smith, Michael Smith. I hope you go out and check out his book at the beginning of the year. There on Amazon.com. Again, you can get an ebook, that's pretty cool. I didn't know he was all that sophisticated and all tech savvy there. It's pretty cool. I really do hope you enjoyed it. Mr. Smith is out and about. He's got his eyes and ears open, and he gets to see it and travel around and get see a lot of things. And that's, folks, that's how you're going to learn out there, is if you kind of watch everything. If you're always out there raising up, railing against something else while you're going to miss a lot of things if you kind of get my drift there, college students. So I hope you enjoyed that first hour. It was fun. Again, John is out doing some family things, and we're just saying some prayers for him right now, hoping that everything works out, because we need to get him on back to us, and I'm sure he'll be back tomorrow. One of the things we lightly touched on today was the incident in Turkey, and I just found it somewhat amusing. Not really amusing. I just found it puzzling and troublesome at the same time. That Mr. Obama, of course, he has to say something about everything, but he should say something about. I mean, let's face it. If we had a little more leadership going on in this administration, we would not probably have some of the things that are happening to it. In the world. And so, just because he's out there like that, I think Mr. Obama should say something, but sometimes what he says is not the right thing. And he was out there today as he was talking to the French, he's with the French president, Francois Hollande, And he said, hey, Turkey has the right to defend itself. Really? Was that the same thing he said about Israel before? I don't know. Hey, Mr. Dix, are you with me, sir? I don't think he's with me. Oh, my goodness. Where did he go? Hello, Don. Donald. Hello, Donald. Are you here, Donald? Let me see. Donald, I heard you.
I am here.
Oh, don't scare me like that, man.
I had to turn the mute off. I couldn't find the mute on this Skype thing. So
the mute button.
Yes.
Oh.
Hello. How are you, Joe?
That's good, Don. Glad you could come by today, man. That kind of threw me a little bit. Sorry. Wow.
Apologies.
No, I'm good. Hey, how you doing, Don?
Well, it's as usual a very strong news day when it comes to the topics of the day. We have President Obama that just had a news conference this morning.
Did you get to listen to it?
I listened to parts of it, yes. And I got to say, it's rather disconcerting. His tone was decidedly different than 2 weeks ago when he told us that ISIS was contained.
Yes, okay.
But now we got to do everything, pull out all the stops. We got to do everything we can do to defeat this evil empire that's building. Very different, and of course, maybe he had an interesting conversation with the president of France. Who knows? But somehow, somewhere, some way, his tone changed today, which, it's going to change tomorrow probably again.
Yes, I probably will change again tomorrow. Probably not for the best, though. I would imagine if he stays with his consistent theme that he wants to have strategic patience, then we're not going to get anywhere, and we're going to have more of these incidences like we had today.
Yeah, President Obama is an interesting piece of this puzzle, of course, because the entire blood of the Middle East lays at the doorstep of his foreign policy and what he's done to now. He's got to make up for lost time. So who knows what we're going to see in terms of response. We finally have gotten, an attack on what we've been saying for so long. He's got to attack the supply lines. And so now we hear the news that, 100 plus tankers were destroyed, but not until we dropped leaflets on all of them to let them know we're coming.
Yeah, it's kind of hey, we're gonna bomb these trucks. You might want to get away from them.
Of course, what did they do? They ducked into a tent nearby. Who knows if there was any collateral damage? We haven't seen that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it gives them the chance to go ahead and put little kids on top of their trucks, and that way we can't bomb them then.
Yeah, these
brave terrorists, these brave ISIS fighters, not that they would ever put women and children in the way of a military target.
Well, no, it's of course the routine is get the women and children out in front of the evil West Empire, and then we can of course tell everybody that we were attacked, that women and children were killed by the evil Western Empire.
Yes, of course.
There's an interesting report out recently by Dr. Sebastian Gorka. And I don't know if this is a name that is familiar to you. I was going to bring it up in our conversation today because Joe had mentioned to continue the conversation. By the way, John, by the way, I hope everything is well with him.
Yes, our prayers are going out with him. He's going to get with me later today, and I'm sure we'll know more. And I do believe that we'll hear from John tomorrow.
Good. So, yeah, Dr. Sebastian Gorka is a personality that surfaced.
Why is that name familiar to me?
Is not familiar to you?
No, it is familiar to me. I'm just trying to put a face to the name, though.
Yeah, he was brought on several times on Fox following the terror attack in Paris. He was on the Megyn Kelly show. He was on the Sean Hannity show. He made several appearances on the Fox and Friends program. He's a very interesting guy, quite a anti-terrorism background. Any rate, he's just come out with a report. The Threat Knowledge Group is who the report is published under, called ISIS, the Threat to the United States. And he really does a great job in this report of quantifying the threat of who ISIS is. And he starts off his report with about 8 bullet points covering, just really what the threat to America from ISIS is about. He reminds us that 82 people in the United States have affiliating with ISIS have been interdicted by law enforcement since March of 2014, including 7 unnamed minors, 4 of whom have been killed in the course of attacks. So these are individuals that have left the United States, that are known individuals to go in, join the party over there in the Middle East. More than 250 individuals from the United States have joined or attempted to join ISIS in Syria and Iraq, according to what's called the final report of the Task Force on Combating Terrorism and Foreign Fighter Travel. This was published by the House of Representatives Homeland Security Committee in September of 2015. And then he reminds us that the FBI currently has 1,000 ongoing ISIS probes in the United States. This was a report that was broken by Judicial Watch on intelligence that they continue to get released through the Freedom of Information Act. ISIS is recruiting in the United States at about 3 times the rate of Al Qaeda.
Yes.
And that really speaks to the core of the president's failed foreign policy. He called ISIS the JV team, of course.
Yeah.
And yet we find that ISIS is doing a much better job of recruiting than Al Qaeda did. And then he goes on to talk about 2 specific individuals. One, a 17-year-old Islamic State supporter from Manassas, Virginia, who was recently sentenced to 11 years in prison for conspiring to provide support to ISIS. This guy, Ali Shirki Amin, had nearly 4,000 Twitter followers, and he was doing this under an alias on Twitter. The alias was American Witness. And then there was another individual, an Arab-American Islamist preacher living in Dearborn, who had 38,000 Twitter followers.
38,000.
Before his site went quiet.
Ha.
And so, the notion that ISIS is here in the United States is valid.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason why, they just came out with this travel report, this travel, warning.
Let's hold on to that thought there, Don, with the travel thing and everything just came up with it. Because we got to take this is our short segment, so we're going to have to take a really short break here, and we'll be right back. So keep that thought. Keep it in mind. Don't lose it, okay?
Very good.
All right. So, again, Don Dix and Joe Hakos here on the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back after this short break.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. Since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish and get the best deal in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call Go Dish to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. Less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey, welcome back, folks. Conservative Syndicate here with Joe Hakos and Don Dix. And Don, you were just before we left, and if I do have CRS, and you probably know what that means if you're of age. So we were talking about the travel warnings that went out today.
Yeah, the State Department has issued a worldwide travel alert. So basically, the travel alert is for Americans, and obviously amidst the terror group and individuals who plan more attacks following the Paris attack. And they're warning that groups like ISIS, Al Qaeda, Boko Haram continue to plan terrorist attacks in multiple regions, and this is all due to the increased chatter, whatever that means, amongst these groups that they are continuing their talk about bringing their jihad to the West. And it was interesting against the backdrop of this, this travel warning.
Yeah.
Then you have Jay Johnson, who heads up the Department of Homeland Security, coming out and saying, yeah, but don't let that get in the way of you going out and, enjoying your holiday, your Thanksgiving activities. Don't change your routine. Just exercise a little caution.
Seriously, you exercise a little caution as they tell people to watch out for the terrorist.
Yeah, the exact wording is exercise vigilance when in public places or using public transportation. They continue with be aware of immediate surroundings and avoid large crowds and crowded places. I don't know how you do that.
Well, this is from now until, if I remember right, if I saw this right, this is until Valentine's Day, right?
Right. It expires February 24th of 2016. So this is the new normal. We can thank President Obama's foreign policy on. It's not enough that we've got to get strip searched at TSA checkpoints. Now, of course, we have to be aware that the attacks that they employ will use a wide variety of tactics using conventional and non-conventional weapons and targeting both official and private interests. So, on the one hand, they're telling us, be careful. On the other hand, they're saying, don't change what you do just because of this.
Yeah. It seems to be a bit disconnected once again. It's not making a lot of sense. Are you supposed to be vigilant and go about your business, or are you just supposed to be don't worry about it at all? I mean, everybody's been worried about it even before this announcement, I would imagine. I mean, for crying out loud, these folks took down a Russian airliner with a soda can bomb.
Basically, yeah. And there's a lot of other, because of the 24/7 news cycle and the fact that they can only cram so much in, they're not even getting around to reporting on some of the attacks that have happened. There was an attack in Lebanon. There was an attack in Israel. There was it just goes on and on and on. Not to mention, of course, the attack at the hotel, the Radisson, in Mali.
In Mali, yes.
So, it seems like weekly we are going to hear about, that's probably basically the pace at which, we're going to hear about this. We do our best to do show prep every day for our daily show.
Yeah.
And we've got to check the news wire like an hour beforehand to see if there's any of this stuff that's, jumped into the into the news cycle with a new terrorist attack.
Yeah, you keep expecting. You were talking about the 72 terrorist attacks that are probably largely reported here in this country. And,
there are lots of little attacks that never get a chance to get a proper airing in the news cycle because you've got these multiple death terror attacks that happen, and we never get a chance to get around to reporting on the smaller ones, like the one that happened up at UC Merced. This one, this one really got buried.
Yes,
it was barely even talked about that they found in the pocket of this guy an ISIS flag.
Yeah. To go along with that, Don, I don't know if you heard about the one, the little public rock over in Youngstown State over in Ohio had all the ISIS flag and inscriptions on it and said, "We're going to get you," basically. I don't know if you heard about that one.
I did see the headline. With the pace that this stuff is happening, sometimes you're not able to dig into, what these are. But the reality of it is that as we've been saying, with the various different groups that are associated with Act for America, which I'm a part of, we've been saying that this is going to happen. Yeah. This is going to happen, and it's now happening. And finally, it's having a dent in Obama's poll ratings. He just recently is now back below 50, down to 45% approval rating. And his foreign policy took a 20-point hit. So now he's down around a 30% approval rating on his foreign policy. America is finally starting to wake up, and unfortunately, it has taken actual terror attacks and not just, what we typically talk about is the rhetoric that comes out of these organizations. Now we're actually seeing the fulfillment of these promises. And it's disconcerting.
So I think we're probably going to see more. What's really disconcerting is the fact that they want to press on with the refugee resettlement program. And I saw where Senator Sessions went on the Senate floor and talked about, here, let me see if I can find this. Congress should not acquiesce to the president's refugee funding request when he refuses to even publicly disclose the immigration histories of these 72 terrorists. And that's what we're talking about here. These are the people that we know were here, and the administration will not give them their immigration histories. To me, that would sound like a vetting process.
Well, yeah, you have now the Congress under Paul Ryan that passed, some what is supposed to put a pause on this.
I think it's a show vote because they won't take it up in the Senate. But anyway, they at least coalesced around an item that says pause on the refugee out of the House.
Well, yeah, and the way that they're doing it, which is kind of interesting because they don't have the vote that will ultimately put a stop to this is the one that is going to restrict the funding that go to the groups that actually do this refugee resettlement work, and that it can't happen until December 10th. The Senate is supposed to take up this bill when they return from Thanksgiving. So hopefully they will. Mitch McConnell right now has the lowest ratings of any senator. And so
who's Mitch McConnell? Who's Mitch McConnell? Really, where's he been? I've heard more out of Harry Reid than I have Mitchie.
Yep. So, yeah. Well, he's probably still licking his wounds that he doesn't have his buddy anymore over in Congress. But Hopefully they do take this up, because while you say it's a show vote, and yes, it's probably, some of that, good degree of that, the reality of it is that, that when these guys take their oath of office, they're supposed to, do what it takes to keep us safe. Bottom line.
Yeah, well, that's the number one thing that government's supposed to do.
That is the purpose of the federal government. That is what the president's primary responsibility is: national security and keeping us safe. And the fact that, the inconvenience of foreign policy to President Obama in getting in the way of his greater goal of diminishing America's status on the world stage, he really is the individual that we can thank for a lot of this, because he basically turned his back on America when it comes to foreign policy.
And some of our allies in the region over in the Middle East, he's basically left them hanging, wondering what we're doing. As you said before, we did it. Before we do it right, we do it wrong, but at least we did it, and they could count on us doing something. Now they're kind of unsure what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, this whole thing is metastasized to the point to where it has even Dianne Feinstein.
That's bad. When you got her chiding you for this, it's pretty bad. But I dare say, I know Dianne has an ulterior motive. She has another agenda behind her talks about this.
What, and that is?
She wants to make us safer by taking away our weapons. It's gun control. That's what Diane's all about. I mean, Chuck Schumer just placed that in there again today. Proposed more gun control to keep us safer.
And of course, one of the countries with the most stringent gun control, of course, France, found out how little gun control can protect you against a determined enemy. And ultimately, if there had been people in those cafes, in that theater that had, concealed carry, who knows how quickly this could have been stopped? Because from the time, I think there was one report that the first call from one of the cafes went in 54 seconds before any response could be mounted to these cafes. In that 54 seconds, someone in those cafes could have taken out a terrorist.
Yeah, at least one.
Yep. And put a crimp on it. As it was, basically these people are sitting ducks, and you're right. That's what they want to do to us.
Hey, the ones at the concert were absolutely sitting ducks. These people were hiding under dead bodies, just trying to play dead, not to get killed. It's basically akin to what the DOD tells their military personnel on a federal reservation for an active shooter. Just you run, hide, and fight. The first two being run and hide. Fight's the last resort. I mean, for crying out loud, that's no way to defend yourself.
No, you can't. And obviously, gun control is an agenda of the left, and it's one of Obama's priorities in his last term here.
So when I see Dianne Feinstein come out and say, "Hey, I'm against what Obama's doing, and he's not doing a really good job here," she has her own agenda. Again, it might be the cynic in me coming out, but at least Diane's been very, very consistent in her railings against the Second Amendment. She doesn't like the Second Amendment, and that shall not be infringed. Really, really bugs her.
Well, exactly. And, the thing that should bug every American is the fact that our entire national defense complex has been stripped of their ability to understand the threat that contributed to the evolution of ISIS. They do not have any internal training that informs them of where the ideological threat comes from. To understand that jihad is a personal obligation on the part of every Muslim. Now, thank God, there's always this conversation the left likes to have about about Islam, that it's only a small portion. But the reality of it is, when you look at the surveys, when you look at the polls that are taken of the Muslim community, both inside America and outside America, it's clear that there are way too many individuals that support the implementation of Sharia law, support the underlying subtext of Islam, which is to dominate and submit the entire world to Islam.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been that way for a long time. I mean, we've talked about it before. You cannot. They are instructed to, if not out, not lie. They will deceive. If it ends justify the means for them, and that means to go ahead and kill the infidel. If not kill the infidel, subjugate the infidel, and beyond that, whatever it takes, they don't really care. So, Don, keep that in mind as we come back. We're going to have to go ahead and take a break here. So, we do have John's Moments of Madness coming up, and I think it's quite apropos. I think it deals directly with the subject we've been talking about, and so maybe we can kind of tie this together after we come back from Moments of Madness. So,
very good.
So, this is Joe Hakos and Don Dix here at the Conservative Syndicate. We will be right back after our short Moments of Madness segment with that John Matthews put together. And here we go.
Today on Moments of Madness. Confirmation by the FBI regarding reports of an alleged threat by the Islamic terror group ISIS at a WWE World Wrestling Entertainment event scheduled in Atlanta, Georgia this past Sunday evening provides the perfect allegorical backdrop by which we can assess the sincerity, honesty, and motive behind Obama's No Muslim Left Behind agenda, referred to by the international community and the media as the Syrian refugee crisis. FBI Special Agent in Charge J. Britt Johnson, in response to media inquiry regarding reports ISIS intended to infiltrate in addition to other possible alleged threats, the WWE SmackDown, hoping to bring their own brand of violent entertainment, stated, "While we take all threats seriously, we do not have specific or credible information of an attack at this time." Agent Johnson followed. Today on Moments of Madness. Referring their own brand of violent entertainment, stated, "While we take all threats seriously, we do not have specific or credible information of an attack at this time." Agent Johnson followed his assessment with the practiced rhetoric that has become the political staple of today's conglomeration of leftist politicians, their strategists, and those we identify as true believers, assuring America we continue to work closely with our law enforcement and private sector partners to keep our communities safe. Once again, we are told, don't worry, folks. Once again, we are doing all we can to ensure these attacks never happen again, and again, and again. The parallels between the WWE and the Obama administration are too apparent to ignore. Like the pre-event trash talk that promises wrestling fans across the country they'll get their money's worth at the next SmackDown, Obama travels the international theater circuit on his apology tour too, once again making speeches and holding press conferences in front of Islamic-friendly nations like Turkey, the Philippines, and Malaysia. From within the comfort zone of his own hood, Obama does not hesitate to remind the world America is the real source of terrorism due to our quick-triggered occupier mentality, racial, gender, and religious prejudices, and misladen passion toward the plight of 3-year-old orphans and widows. Here's the madness. As Obama continues to dismiss attacks like the recent one in Paris that took 122 lives as merely setbacks rather than failures of his policies and actions, while continuing to claim ISIS's reach has been disrupted, cut off, and or contained due to his never-ending diligence, intelligence, and understanding of foreign policy, even his own party is beginning to recognize the yellow sands of the Middle East are rapidly turning red due to the continual erasure of lines drawn in vain. Senator Dianne Feinstein, ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, stated on Face the Nation, "I'm concerned we don't have the time and we don't have years. We need to be aggressive now because ISIL, also known as ISIS, is a quasi-state." That's quite an admission in contrast to Obama's views ISIS is nothing more than killers with good social media. Former CIA Director and Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta stated on Meet the Press, We have got to be more aggressive and much more unified in the effort to take on ISIS, suggesting there needs to be an increase in resources and effort coordinated through a central international joint command center. But apparently Obama is more content standing in front of his teleprompter, lamenting America's shortcomings before burqa-covered crowds, than huddling with his top-tier team of advisors that meet every several weeks between Obama's trips abroad and vacations to discuss the Middle East JV team. Just like WWE events, Obama seems to believe the outcome has already been predetermined, and all he has to do is continue to promote the venue. The nagging question, of course, is even though we know it's all staged, who will win? As one who once enjoyed professional wrestling when it was the WWF, I remember two very popular wrestling icons during the Desert Storm era, Sergeant Slaughter and the Sheik. The Sheik would parade around with an Arab flag, provoking American patriotism as he called for jihad against us. Of course, Sergeant Slaughter was the answer, who routinely beat the Sheik to a pulp. The outcome, of course, was always predetermined. In much the same manner, Obama's agenda has always been to bring about his own jihad against America, paving the way for his fundamental transformation of America. As Obama continues to apply his hold on America, let's hope somewhere Sergeant Slaughter comes out of retirement and restores truth, justice, and the American way. If not, we may all end up paying homage to the Sheik. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
All right. I hope everybody enjoyed that Moments of Madness. I do, as John said, I do remember those halcyon days of the WWF with the Iron Sheik and Captain Slaughter. I mean, it was just those were some fun times back then. I mean, it's when it's when you can really have fun watching that stuff. Although some people actually took it way too serious. It's kind of amazing to watch those folks. It's kind of like, hey, it's not really all that real. It's kind of pretty much planned out, But it was fun watching them anyway. Hey, Don. So, hey, what did you want to hit on next, Don? You want to hit some refugee items up? Is that what you want to do?
Well, yeah. I mean, we touched on it real briefly. The effort that Congress had undertaken last week in order to put a pause on this, but the whole refugee program is something that I think every American needs to put on their front burner.
Okay.
Because this is the Trojan horse that potentially could damage America. It's a direct threat. We know that several of the refugees that took part in the terrorists that took part in the terrorist attack
were refugees.
in Paris were refugees.
Yes.
And slid in under that. We now know that refugees are coming up from the south.
Yes.
There have been several interdictions of refugee families that have been found crossing the border in Laredo, Texas.
Yes.
We also have a group of Syrian refugees that were apprehended in Honduras.
Honduras, yep.
So we know that they're coming through the southern border. Those are just the ones we're catching. Now, these are quote-unquote family units that have been found coming through the south. But if they're catching these family units, God only knows who's slipping through in the groups that the coyotes are bringing over. There's a brand new wave of migrants coming through the south. That's again, some of this stuff is not hitting the top headlines and getting talked about on the programs that we all watch because of the dominant discussion, with what's going on with ISIS and the terror attacks.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got Brussels has been on lockdown since last week almost.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. So yeah, I get that. If
that's not a hint about what could happen to us here in America if we get a few of these terror attacks here, what Brussels is going through, because they still have not found the guy.
No.
That they have found a an explosive belt that they are suspecting was his. They found that on the side of the road in France, but we still don't know where this guy is at. So until this guy's apprehended, they've made dozens of arrests. They've retained a number of those people and actually made charges for terrorism-related charges of the people that they've found in Brussels in these.
Hey, you mentioned something. You mentioned something here that kind of piqued my interest. Now, the Canadians just decided to change kind of tweak their policy just a bit. They're going to want to let 10,000 of these refugees in their country by the end of the year, and another 15,000 by end of February sometime. But they made a change to it that they won't let single male refugees come in. So obviously, if you have a family, you'd be able to come in, and that tweaked my mind. Maybe that's not the panacea that they expect it to be. If we got these family units coming across our southern border, that might not work. And let's just remember, the Tsarnaevs were a family, refugees. They were brought to our country, under whatever status they were, and then they decided they really like pressure cookers and wanted to blow up the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, a lot of these people that are here that have succumbed to the jihadist agenda were either immigrants or refugees. So that kind of backs up the rhetoric that the message, I shouldn't say rhetoric, that we've heard from Ann Coulter. Of course, Ann Coulter is talking about the fact that the whole immigration issue, of which the refugee conversation is definitely a part of. But the whole immigration issue is one that we can thank, even if you don't like Donald Trump, we can thank Donald Trump for bringing this conversation to the forefront in his sort of stream of consciousness speech giving, where he causes himself and the Republican Party sometimes as much of a problem as he gives us these pearls like the conversation of immigration. But the Canadians, you're right. I mean, who are the majority of the terrorists? They're young men.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you're going to profile, let's begin by profiling young men in this. And much of the video that has come out of Europe and come out of Greece, it isn't, it isn't all families. It's the majority of the faces that we see in these videos are young men.
Yes, they are.
And so, we talk about solutions to the refugee crisis. One of the solutions that we really need to force the conversation over there in the Middle East on is how come the countries in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula haven't taken any refugees?
Absolutely. You know what? Absolutely. I was saying that before. There's thousands of air-conditioned tents sitting over in Saudi Arabia that are sitting vacant, and these individuals could go to these places, and assimilation is not an issue for them then. I mean, they are in their own environment, per se, and it would be much easier for them to stay there and then move back to their homeland once the conflict has been eradicated.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're talking about the what we refer to, excuse me, as the MENA tent city. This is for lack of a better word, a suburb of Mecca.
Yeah, Mecca. Mm-hmm.
And it's used to house the individuals that go there on the Hajj.
Yes.
At least 100,000 tents. And when you look at the pictures, it's a virtual sea of white. Yep. As far as the eye can see. They've built these air-conditioned tents that are there to house the swelling of the population there in Mecca, mm-hmm. And keep them comfortable in their as they're going through their Hajj. What about that tent city? Why is it that Saudi Arabia is not opening up this tent city, which is situated 5 kilometers roughly east of the holy city of Mecca, and it's used to accommodate these millions of pilgrims that go there on the Hajj? Why isn't Saudi Arabia opening up their doors?
I've been asking that question from the beginning. From the beginning.
And that's a legitimate question. Why is it we haven't heard the administration bring this issue up? How come the fact that 5 countries within the Saudi Arabian Peninsula have taken literally less than 10 refugees that we know of, and why are they actually? Why is the natural destination that they're headed for Europe? Kind of makes you scratch your head why they wouldn't head towards Saudi Arabia and countries where they're culturally more apt to, feel comfortable in. Well, the answer we know is that it's all about money. I mean, we had the videos of these guys running around saying money, money, money. I mean, when they were given food, in a lot of cases, they actually turned it down because it had, they weren't even culturally adept enough to be aware that the Red Cross symbol that was on this food had nothing to do with Christianity per se. It had to do with that these were food supplies from the Red Cross, and yet they thought that it was coming from a Christian source, and they refused the food rations that were labeled with this Red Cross on them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw that they were throwing it off the train platforms, etc., and it makes you wonder. It kind of proves a point that really they're not coming here because they want something. Hey, we're going to have to take a really short break, Don.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and get that out of the way, and then we'll get right back. So again, Joe Hakos, Don Dix here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
All right, welcome back to Conservative Syndicate with Joe Hakos, Don Dix right now. Hey, Don, we're talking about that tent city over in Saudi Arabia and Medina, and it's funny. I've been on that highway that's going towards Mecca, and before you can get to Mecca, they've got the big giant sign that says all infidels must exit here. And if you don't exit at the end of the exit ramp there, they had the Saudi police with their automatic weapons waiting for you, just making sure that the infidels don't get into Mecca.
Well, you bring up a great point. Saudi Arabia should be labeled as one of the preeminent apartheid states in the world right now. They don't allow Christianity. They don't allow churches. They don't allow. When you go over there, I'm not sure why you were there, but when you go over there, you are kept on essentially a reservation. If you're doing contracting work, you're not really able to go out and mingle and mix with Saudi.
They keep you in your own little compounds. You stay in your compounds, and depending on the level of what you're doing over there, if you're just over from some other country and you're just out cleaning the streets or whatever, a lot of times they'll take your passport and keep you as basically an indentured servant.
Well, that's right. I mean, a lot of, there's been a lot of reports and news reports that have been done by organizations around the world about the quasi-slavery that Saudi Arabia and in fact, Dubai engage in order to build these huge, buildings that you could see from outer space. They got that island, Palm Island.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that labor is basically slave labor that's brought in. And in some cases, they're not even paid. These people answer ads, and those ads promise. And this includes, countries like Russia, Africa, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, where these people answer these ads, the promise of income for their families. They get over there, like you said, their passports are taken. They never, in some cases, see a dime of the money they're promised. Saudi Arabia, and it's interesting because we have this joke of a human rights council within the UN, and these countries like Saudi Arabia are on this human rights council, and these are the countries that are committing some of the most egregious human rights offenses, and yet somehow it's always America and Israel that are blamed for the problems in the world, and Israel's an apartheid state. No. They point to Israel to take the focus off themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and Obama just did this just this past week when he was in Malaysia. He talks about our problems, how we're so unequal. We have problems in our own political system. And meanwhile, Malaysia has this horrible human rights record. He doesn't mention a thing about that. Of course, I guess, as a guest in their country, it probably would not be proper. But he doesn't have to take America down when he's out there doing it now, does he?
Right. Don't throw America under the bus. So we got into the tent city conversation because we were talking about the refugee resettlement, process
that
undergoing.
Program,
Probably one of the best pieces that people can go to is featured on the Center for Security Policy's website. The website is centerforsecuritypolicy.org. And it's a piece by an individual that has researched this named James Simpson. And you can read his report. They call it a monograph, which is basically a small book. But he takes apart, and it's called, by the way, the Red-Green Access, Refugees, Immigration, and the Agenda to Erase America. And it's available also in Kindle format or on paper book on Amazon. But you can read the report right on their website. And Mr. Simpson basically copiously documents his fact-based findings in charts, the actual trajectory of the refugee resettlement program and the cost to America and American taxpayers of this program. You've got people, Joe, that have been on this refugee dole for up to 5 years. They receive money, they receive benefits from the American taxpayer, and there's really very little effort once they're here to get them to integrate into American culture. In a lot of cases, these people gravitate towards these enclaves of individuals that are of similar, cultural backgrounds, and there's no real effort to, integrate them into American culture. But he you always say follow the money.
Yeah.
And a bulk of his report is documenting these organizations that are feeding off this entire refugee money train that our country has set up. The acronym for them is they're called VOLAGs. They're voluntary agencies that basically are remunerated handsomely by taxpayer dollars, so that they can, and in some cases these are affiliates of the Catholic Church, the Lutheran Church. And this is where they're making their money. He documents in this thing the incredible salaries that some of the people that head up these organizations are making. In some cases, $200,000, $300,000 that the executives of these VOLAGs are making. And so it's understandable the lobby that comes from these organizations, because there's a huge amount of money involved in it, billions of dollars. And so when you compound these organizations on top of this Syrian refugee problem, they have absolutely no concern as to whether or not these people coming from Syria are properly vetted.
Yeah,
they just want to bring them in here because their compensation depends on this flow of refugees. It's a really insidious cycle. I really encourage people to go out and read this 60-some page report that James Simpson has put together. It's called The Red Green Axis: Refugees, Immigration, and the Agenda to Erase America, which is basically the same byline as Ann Coulter's book, talking about Adios America, the left's agenda to turn America into a third world hellhole.
So what's that website again, Don?
The website is the Center for Security Policy.org. There's a box off to the right. When you scroll down, the box says the Red Green Axis. You just click on that and it takes you right to the report that James Simpson has put together. It's a very important piece for Americans to understand about what the nature of this refugee program is all about.
So it's about basically money, once again.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. It always seems to be about money.
So the taxpayers subsidize this program then, because these organizations receive subsidies, I take it. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, not just the yeah, absolutely. The organizations receive not subsidies that turn into, compensation for the executives and the employees of these organizations. His charts go through and document literally the billions of dollars that are funneled into these organizations in order to take care of these refugees. The amount of money that's paid in Medicaid and cash assistance, food stamps, public housing. It's an extraordinary amount of money, totaling in excess of, in some cases, by some estimates, $6 billion. In other cases, $10 billion.
And so this is while they're being vetted, quote unquote.
Well, the vetting process is theoretically supposed to take place prior to them even coming to this country. I don't know how that's going to happen, because they say it can take up to 2 years to properly vet these people.
Yeah, and who are they going to ask? Assad? Hey, can you tell us what Haji is? Is he a terrorist? Can you look him up in your database, please, Mr. Assad? Well, that's really going to happen.
You got to know that the entire infrastructure of Syria is getting decimated, and the ability to track these people accurately is
it's non-existent. Dude, really? Come on. Let's be real here. There is no ability to track these people. They don't know who. The folks we're catching down in the southern border were all fake passports. So
well, that's just it. Germany said recently, issued a press release saying that the fake passports that they're dealing with are so good that they're concerned they're not catching but a small portion of them.
Wow.
So if an ISIS fighter has assumed the identity of a legitimate Syrian, how are we going to know that? We're not.
No, we won't know that until it's too late. Hey, Don, we're coming up to the end of the show, brother. So, hey, why don't you give the folks some idea how to get a hold of your stuff and plug away, brother.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to join you guys. You do an amazing job of creating content for folks to get the news that doesn't always get reported. Our organization, Act for America, it's a place people can go to, really sort of a destination activism spot that people can go to in order to, find out what's going on. One of the best places that they can go, at the top of the Act for America webpage, is a tab that says Get Involved. If you click on that and scroll down to a place called Engage, this takes you to a website that is unique to Act for America, and it's a way for your activism. You can basically do this from the comfort of your home. You can find what's the word I'm looking for? Petitions.
Petitions, local stuff.
Petitions that they can add their name to, but more importantly, all of the priority legislation that Act for America is backing is listed here, and you can customize letters directly from here. Find your elected officials. You can customize letters directly to your elected officials, and here's the magic. The magic is that all of this is tracked. So when our lobbyists go into legislators' offices, they can say, hey, you've received 252 letters from constituents in your district talking about this piece of legislation. Isn't it time you added your name to it?
Yeah.
So it's a great place for folks to be able to do activism from. So I'd encourage them to check that out.
Cool. Well, thanks, Don. I appreciate it, brother. It's good to have you again, and let's hope we can do this again next week or whenever it is we're supposed to be having you on. I get
every
confused.
2 weeks. Thanks for the opportunity, Joe. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Don. You take care. God bless, brother.
And you.
All right, folks, we're coming up to the end of the show. Again, you can get all our archives at the conservativesyndicate.net. Please listen to it, especially the parts where we give you some information about that you don't normally get. Again, we'll have John on again tomorrow, and God love you all. We appreciate everything you guys do for us. Without you, we wouldn't have a place to be. So God love you, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.
Hello.